and I'm here on Facebook Live, and today we're going to be talking about cast-ons and bind-offs. So I did a little of it experimenting to try and see if I can figure out with some of the more popular bind-offs and cast-on, if I can make them look better, or if there were things about them that maybe I could teach you and you could learn from my little experiment that I had. So today, the first one I'm going to be talking about is our regular cast-on and bind-off. But before I get started, I wanted to let you know that last week we had a contest for our Kabasi Plus, and this is in the deep turquoise colorway, 2 skeins, and our winner was Diana Hardy Spring It, and she's the one that won the contest for last week. So this week we're going to be having another contest, and it's for Knitter's Pride Carbons. It's one of my favorite circular needles to knit with, and you'll soon see why, whoever wins, because these are wonderful needles. I just love them. And so all you have to do to enter to win this prize is to post comments in the comments section. Let us know what you're working on, where you're from, anything that you'd like to tell us about, and then you'll be entered to win these wonderful needles. So you post those comments and you'll be entered for a chance to win. All right, now back to our cast-ons and bind-offs. This was really fun for me because I love learning new things. So first of all, I took my traditional cast-on, and then I took the traditional bind-off, okay, just the one that we teach our begin to knit students, and that would be knit 2 stitches and then you slip the stitch over, and that's the traditional bind-off. So let's take a look what I found here. So on this number 1, if you see these little pink strings on the bottom here, these are showing the cast-on edge. So on all of our squares that we have here, they all have a pink string, just so I could identify where my cast-on edge was. So we're looking at the traditional cast-on, and it's using a number 9 needle, and I actually knit this swatch with a number 9. So if you kind of take a look at it, the cast-on edge is a little bit tighter than the bind-off edge. And the bind-off edge, do you see how it has those V stitches that you traditionally see? And if you compare them together, the top is a little wider than the bottom, and it doesn't look exactly alike. This almost looks like purl bumps, and these look like knit stitches here. So it's not a perfect cast-on and a perfect bind-off, but it looks pretty good. So let's take the next swatch. Okay, so then the next thing I did was use the traditional cast-on, but I used a number 10 needle instead of a number 9 needle. So already you can see on your cast-on edge, do you see how it made it bigger at top? It actually evened the swatch out better. So that's your traditional cast-on and your traditional bind-off with the V stitches at top. Now, still not a perfect match, but they still look pretty good. And I think that reasons that you might want your top and your bottom to match, say you're doing a cowl and it's up around your neck, and you want that project to look beautiful on both sides. You want it to look the same so that you can wear it from the top or bottom, whatever, and have it look beautiful on both ends and exactly alike so that you can't tell where you cast on and you bound off. So that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming for cast-ons and bind-offs that look like each other. Okay, so, or, you know, look improved in some way. So number 2 here was improved over number 1 in that the width on your cast-on edge was actually more uniform than your first one. And that was obtained by using a number 10 needle instead of a number 9. So 1 needle size larger when you cast on, and you get a wider bottom that looks better and it blocks out nicer. So that's something for you to think about. Okay, so that brings me to this sample number 3. Sample number 3 is done with a long tail cast on, but we do it in pattern. So the cast on is done with knit stitches and purl stitches, and I'll be posting a video on this, how to do it. I don't currently have one, but I'll post one for you so that you have it. and that is there. And then at the top, I bound off in pattern, and it looks pretty good. That's pretty nice bind off. I like that one. So, pretty uniform and nice. So, the next one we want to talk about is, we're talking about a Channel Island Cast On and Channel Island Bind Off. Okay, so this is done with, I found it in the Michelle Hunter on her video, YouTube video, little helpful things. So, this is your cast on. That's the Channel Island Cast On. And then your Channel Island Bind Off. And to me, these really don't look much alike at all. They both look nice, but they do look different. But they look good on both sides. That's a good thing. Yeah. So, on this one, I might do a provisional cast on, and then with a provisional cast on, just go ahead and do the Channel Island Bind Off, and then come back when you're finished and do a Channel Island Bind Off on this side, so they look just alike. So it's something to think about. When you're doing the Channel Island Bind Off, maybe you can do a provisional cast on and forget this whole Channel Island Cast On, and just do 2 Channel Island Bind Offs and have them look exactly alike. Depends on what you're looking for, but food for thought. So the next one here that we're going to be talking about, and this is a provisional cast on with an Icord Bind Off. Then you go back and do the Icord Bind Off at the end. So I did a provisional cast on down here, knit up to the top here, did your garter stitch, and then did an Icord Bind Off. Then I went back and did an Icord Bind Off on the other side. So I'm thinking that if you're going to learn any skills, it's a good idea to learn how to do a provisional cast on and do it well and become friends with it. Because if you can do a provisional cast on, you can make either edge, no matter what it is, look good. So I would challenge you, learn to do that provisional cast on and learn to do it and make it your friend and have fun with it, because that'll make your cast-ons and bind-offs the same. So this next one is done with the long tail. Oh, let's see, we have 3B. So if I go to B, it's an Icord Cast On with an Icord Bind Off. Okay, now this is why I'm saying you should do your provisional cast on. So this is an Icord Cast On. Do you see how it's kind of, these stitches are kind of elongated right there, and how they're not elongated up here? And do you see how your I-cord on top is nice and thick and chunky and rolls over beautifully, where this one is it rolls over okay, but I just don't like that sloppy area in there. And it seems like every single time I've tried to do the I-cord cast on, that's what I get, even if I use a smaller needle. If I use a smaller needle, then my I-cord section gets smaller and it gets sucked in on the bottom. So that doesn't really solve that problem. I have tried that before, but it doesn't solve the problem. So I would say, if you had to choose between these two, which this one in my right hand has the provisional cast on with an I-cord bind off, finish your project, go back and do your I-cord bind off on that side. And this one is an I-cord cast on and I-cord bind off. Now, which one do you guys like better? So while I'm talking about this, it reminds me to ask you all out there, do you have cast-ons and bind-offs that you like? Are there ones that go well together? Have you learned any little tips and tricks that you need to share with us and to our fellow Facebookers? You go ahead and post those in the comments, and guess what? You will be entered to win our contest today, which is for Carbon's Knitter's Pride 40-inch number 2. And the reason why I gave these to you is because with our summertime knitting, a lot of us are going to be doing socks using the magic loop method. And so I wanted you to try these carbons.
So Gaydell Tremblay and Debbie Walker is with us this morning.
Good morning. Hello, both of you.
And Gaydell is, she mentioned that she joined a sock cal from Australia and is finishing the last few rows of the transient shawl.
Yay! Yay!
And Debbie Walker has a question. She says, are these videos available on your website or only on Facebook?
There will be some of them that are available now with the technique videos, but my husband is gone. He's in Europe right now, and I'm missing him terribly. But he will be back in a little over a week, and we will get the rest of these videos made for you. So they will be on our website, and so you may just have to wait just a little bit until they get posted, because he helps me with that. So anyways, and I'm so glad that you guys are all working on your transient shawl. I love mine. I thought that was a great cowl. And if you get a moment and you're able to tell us what that cowl is from Australia, we'd love to hear about it, because I love doing socks, and I know there are quite a few of us out there that would like to join in with you. So let us know what that is, and maybe we can enjoy what you're enjoying. So that sounds great. So anyways, make sure to post your comments so you can enter a chance to win these wonderful needles. I love carbons. If you haven't tried them, they're a treat that you will really enjoy. So I also wanted to get back to our swatches here, and let's see what the next one is we're going to be talking about. And this next one is number 4. It's a long tail cast on, and this one is the long tail cast on the bottom and the easy sewn bind off on the top. Oh my, I love this easy sewn bind off. Hey, do you guys notice something? That looks really nice, doesn't it? I love the easy sewn bind off with that traditional cast on. It's very cool. And I cast on with number 10 needles. So I cast on down here with number 10 needles, and I knit my project with number 9s and bound off with number 9s. So, and that is pretty straight. I did not block these aggressively, just very lightly, and they look pretty even without much effort. So that is pretty cool. So keep that easy sewn bind off in your back pocket of tricks, because boy, I love that easy sewn bind off. It's a wonderful stretchy bind off, and with garter stitch, it looks lovely. So you guys will have to try that. So the next thing that we're going to be talking about is our provisional cast on, and we did a provisional cast on, did a picot bind off, went over to the other side and did a picot bind off on this side. And I just wanted to show you, now this is very lightly blocked, and I see my end is sticking out there. Sorry about that. But if you look at these really closely, see how similar it looks? It looks so much better than trying to do a picot cast on and a picot bind off, that I just wanted to show this to you. It's food for thought, you know? That learning to do a provisional cast on over a crochet hook can be a little bit of effort for some people, but I think it's really worth learning. And once you've done it a few times, I would venture to say that you commit it to memory and it becomes easy. What I do when I'm trying to remember something, say I'm doing entrelac for the first time, for instance, I would pick a cowl, I might pick a hat, and maybe I'll pick another cowl or a baby blanket, and I'll do 3 projects in entrelac. And then by the time I finish that 3rd project, I'm like a pro at it. I can knit back and forth, and you know, with knitting forwards and backwards, no problem. And I have totally mastered the skill. So if you're trying a new skill and you get stuck, try and do that skill 3 different times. Do it in 3 different projects. And I would venture to say that you will commit that to memory and you will never forget. And you'll be able to use it whenever you need to. And if you're on an airplane and you don't have access to your computer because they made you turn it off, you're good to go. You'll still be able to knit because you can remember how to do it. So that is something that I do. The next one here we're going to be looking at is the old Norwegian cast on, or the German twisted. There's 2 names for that one. And then I did that with our Icelandic bind off. Okay, so this is the twisted, German twisted or old Norwegian cast on. Okay, and then that is your Icelandic bind off. I'm telling you, when I did my baby blanket, which is the kisses and hugs, and I'm kind of pulling it, but they're just about the same width there. stretchiness, and I didn't have to change needle size. And you can't tell which side is the cast on or the bind off edge on the baby blanket. And I'll show you. I have the Hugs and Kisses baby blanket right here because I'm doing one for my daughter-in-law. She's having her baby tomorrow. And here is that Hugs and Kisses with the German twisted cast on. And I just love the cast on with garter stitch. It's very cool. So that's the Hugs and Kisses baby pattern. It can be found on Alpaca Direct. And if you type in Hugs and Kisses baby blanket, you'll be able to go ahead and click that you want to buy it. And it'll put you into the shopping cart and you'll put your first and last name, but it will not ask you to give credit card information or anything like that. It'll take you straight to the download as soon as you have your name and address in. It'll give you the pattern. So if you wanted to knit that one, that's a good one to work on too. All right, so the next one we're going to be talking about is number 7 here. And this is Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy Bind Off with Jenny's Slipknot Cast On. So Jenny made a cast on that kind of mimics the bind off. You see how it kind of goes along there. And that is the Slipknot Cast On. And it's a nice and stretchy, very stretchy cast on. So if you needed to cast on with that, have no fear, it is stretchy. And here's your bind off at the top of here. And this is for like toe up socks. I use this Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy Bind Off all the time. I think it almost adds a bit of decoration at the top. So now if you compare the two, they don't look a lot alike, but they have similar characteristics. They're both stretchy. They both follow the stitches, and they're both nice casts on. I like them both. They're not exactly the same, but they both have their uses. The only thing I would say about the Slipknot cast on is that when you're doing these slip knots, you have to keep each stitch very close together. And it was a little bit more of a tedious cast on, and maybe a little more difficult for begin to knitters to be able to grasp it. And so it was a good cast on, but it took a little effort to do it. Once I got the hang, it was fine. But yeah, just know that Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy Cast On can be used with the Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy Bind Off. So, the last one here that I wanted to talk about is our Tubular Cast On and a Tubular Bind Off. Now, if you have not done the Tubular Cast On, it involves taking scrap yarn and knitting half the amount of stitches for like 4 rows before you begin. And then you take your working yarn and you start working from there. Now, some people say, well, that's just way too much effort. Well, I don't know. I think that when I'm knitting, if I can make my garment stand out a little bit, to me it's worth the effort. And I love learning. So learning new things and trying something new to me is like a game. So I'm challenging myself. And if you want to keep your memory nice and strong and keep yourself growing, it's a good idea to try some of these. So this Tubular Cast On was a little effort, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. And then if you look at the Tubular Bind Off, basically what you're doing with the Tubular Bind Off, it is the Kitchener stitch. And what you're doing is you're separating the knits from the purls on 2 double-pointed needles, and then you're just going to Kitchener it. And these two don't look exactly alike, but they look similar and they have that wrapped around edge. I think the cast on to me looks a little more clean, and the bind off is maybe not quite as clean, but it was still pretty good. But it was definitely some skills that are, kind of fun to learn and different from what you would normally see in everyday knitting life. And so I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, I would challenge you that when you're knitting, that you try new things and that you enjoy your knitting. And I also want you to remember that when you're casting on, maybe just casting on with one needle size larger, then you get your cast on edge a little bit more symmetrical with the rest of your work. And so that is a great thing to do. I would also become friends with your provisional cast on and use that picot edge on both sides. You know, bind off using the picot edge and then turn around on the other side and bind off using the picot edge. So they're exactly alike. So become friends with these skills. Try and practice 3 different patterns that have the new skill so that you can actually get that skill set committed to memory, so it's not such a chore every time, so you're not having to relearn the wheel or what have you when you're learning that new skill. You can just commit it to memory for one time and you'll be on to the next skill that you can learn, because there's always an abundance of things to learn in knitting. Also, before we finish up here today, I wanted to remind you that Diana Hardy Springett is the winner of our Kabasi Plus today. And this is the deep turquoise colorway in number 10. And we will be contacting her for her address. And I also wanted to let you know that if you post comments in the comment section, and if you do this before next Tuesday, we usually choose the winner on Monday or so. So you don't have to do it today, just any time between now and next week, and you'll be entered to win these carbons, which are 40-inch number 2s. And the reason why I wanted you to try these is I'm hoping that you can use them to make socks, and that you can use them to knit in the round doing 2 at a time, if that's possible. So you'll have to let me know, whoever the winner is, if you're going to be able to do that, or if you're thinking that you might challenge yourself and give that a go. Because remember, if you knit 2 at a time in the round, you will have no second sock syndrome. And that's a great advantage to knitting your socks 2 at a time. So, and I also wanted to let you know that our, one second here, next Facebook Live is next Tuesday, May 15th at 9:30. And I don't have it down here what we're going to be talking about. But you can be sure that it's going to be good. And I'll post it way ahead of time so that you have it. So you guys have a great day. And challenge yourselves while you're knitting to make your cast-on and bind-offs better. And post your pictures so we can share them with everyone. And you have a great day. Take care.